Today, we are going to be reviewing Chapter 8 exam that you will have on Tuesday. What I've tried to do is change the exam up a little bit, but I want to go over the exam to show you how to do these problems. So on number 1, it asks us if we want for us to write either acute, right, or obtuse angle. The big side is going to be C, and the two smaller sides, it doesn't matter, but one would be A, the other one would be B. And we want to use the Pythagorean theorem, which is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So if we do this one, we're going to have 14 squared plus 48 squared equals 60 squared. 14 squared is 196. 48 squared is 2,304, and 60 squared is 3,600. When I add these two up here, I get 2,304 plus 196, and that gets me 2,500. Now, this is not equal to 3,600. So now I want to find out what is happening here. Well, in this case, the hypotenuse is too big. Notice here that what made this not equal was that the hypotenuse was too big. So think about this. In a right triangle, the hypotenuse, let's say this were a 3, 4, 5. This is equal to each other. But if the hypotenuse is too big, that means that this line here extended more than what it was supposed to. So it looks something like this. So that means that the angle, that the triangle had to open up more. So in this case, since the hypotenuse is too big, this would be called an obtuse angle. So on number 1, the answer here would be obtuse. This is for number 1, obtuse angle. Let's look at number 2 now. If we do the same thing, and I'm going to go a little quicker here, that's 36. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. 36 plus 49 equals 100. 36 plus 49 is going to give you 85 equals 100. And this one will also be obtuse. On number 3, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, remember that the biggest side is square root of 11. Now, I know if you don't know that square root of 11 is a leg, then just go ahead and try it. So just go ahead and put 11, put square root of 11, and that's 3.31. So this is the same thing as 3.3. This is 5 and this is 7. So again, leg, and hypotenuse. So this one looks tricky, but when you square it, it comes out nicely. Remember, you're going to go A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Well, the square root of 11 multiplied by itself, these cancel. The square and the square root cancel, so I just get 11. Or if you want to do it the long way, you can go square root of 11 times square root of 11 is the square root of 121. And then the square root of this would just be 11. But I know that the square root and the square are inverse operations, and they will just cancel each other out. Here, 5 squared is 25, and here is 49, and here is 36 equals 49. So this is also obtuse. What I'm looking for is if the hypotenuse were too small. For example, if something came out 25 equals 11. This one means that the C squared here was too small. Okay, so what happens there is that the hypotenuse was too small. So that means it's going to force this angle in a little bit. If this happens, then you would want to put acute. If they're the same, 36 equals 36, this would be a right. All right, let's continue with this now. Let's read the instructions here. Find the values of the variables. Leave your answer in the simplest radical form. So here I want to just do the a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So this is 16 plus 25 equals x squared. Here we have 41 equals x squared. And then you're using a calculator here, so you can either leave it at the square root of 41, but I'd rather you guys continue that out. Do 41 and do the square root, 6.4. And then also get an idea of what the side is. 4, 5, it's going to be a little bit bigger than 5. So check your answers too. Don't get any ridiculous answers and try to check that if you make a mistake. Okay, on number 5. This one I'm not going to change. If you guys took the time to look at my YouTube video, I want to give this one to you guys. So here I'm going to go a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And this is a little bit tricky, and I haven't explained this in class. But here you're going to see x squared plus 81. And I'm going to go a little quick here, but this is going to be this times itself. So 3 times 3 is 9. And square root of 10 times square root of 10 is square root of 100. And then the square root of 100 is just 10. So this becomes 9 times 10 is 90. Subtract both sides by 81. You're going to get x squared equals 9. Square root both sides. X equals 3. And remember, there are two answers when you take the square root, the positive and the negative. But we're talking about distance here. So you take the positive answer, which is x equals 3. Here's a tricky one. X and y. They're hiding both variables. But notice here, both of these angles are congruent, which means that both of these are congruent. So there, if this is x, let's make this x. So now it looks like this. X squared plus x squared equals 15 squared. And you add the x squared. So this is going to be 2x squared equals 225. And then divide both sides by 2. X squared divided by 2. So it's 112.5. And then when you have 112.5, don't worry about it. You have a calculator. You want the square root of it? Just hit this button right here, the square root button. And it'll do it for you. So about 10.6. All right. Now, number 7 here, we have a 30, 60, 90 triangle.